Okay, the college itself was pretty small, but looked big to me because I was from Hawthorne, Nevada, and the campus as you see it today is approximately 3 times larger than it was when I was there. And the buildings were not complete in a lot of cases, but they were complete enough. The new campus was being built. The old campus was downtown, very archaic buildings downtown by the St. George Tabernacle, and it was a huge blessing for the college to be moved to this new site. And so all the buildings were pretty new when I was there. And the teachers were extremely friendly, and they were dedicated to the success of the student. And they knew that a lot of the students were just like me, where we hadn't had great backgrounds in high school, and we needed extra help to pull us up, to prepare us for college life. And I wasn't a terrific student when I was a freshman. I was busy having a lot of fun, but I knew I had to work hard, and I went to every single class, every single time. I never skipped class. I felt like it was too important. I knew I was spending a lot of money. Well, tuition was a whole $80 per semester. But anyway, I'd saved a long time to my own money to pay for that tuition, and that was the money I was spending to go to college, and so I took it very seriously. But I still wasn't a very good student because I'd had such a poor beginning there in terms of my high school and junior high and whatnot. It just simply wasn't very good, and so I really struggled during that time. Towards the spring, I found out that Coach Horlocker was teaching a water swimming instructor course, which is a Red Cross course that you needed to take if you're going to be a lifeguard. And I wanted to be a lifeguard back in Hawthorne for the coming summer. And so I took swimming lessons from Coach Horlocker, and it was really great. And we took it in a swimming pool that was was not a very big pool. The swimming pool is actually at a motel, and motel swimming pools are tiny because they want to save money. That's the big goal. Well, the city swimming pool wasn't open yet because it was an outdoor swimming pool, and we did this in like February, okay, or March. Might have been March when we started, and it was still pretty cool. So you had to have a lot of determination, and I think there were only about 8 of us that were taking the class. And then what I didn't know is that Coach Horlocker was having people take this class so that he could get employees for the swimming pool, for the St. George City swimming pool, and that he was in charge of that too. He was also a football coach at the college and basketball coach, and I don't know, every kind of coach there was. I just really loved Coach Horlocker. He's just a wonderful person, and I really looked up to him. And he had one of these amazing things I'd never seen before, a day planner, where you'd actually write down what you had to do and when you had to do it. I was so amazed to see this thing, and I thought, wow, he's really organized. And of course I was totally disorganized.
No one in Hawthorne had a day planner?
No, I don't think I ever saw a day planner before in my entire life. So anyway, that did have an influence on me, because I thought, wow, I want to be like Coach Horlocker, because he's a really good guy, and he's very organized, and he had all these different things going on. I didn't know that the reason he had all these different things going was because the college didn't pay him very much. In order to feed his big family, he had to work for the city of St. George as well as the college.
How big of a family did he have?
I'm not real sure. I had 7 or 8 kids, something like that. But in order to take care of them all, he had to have every job in the world, and that's why he had to have this day planner to keep track of all his different jobs. So anyway, he hired me to work at the city swimming pool. When I finished my work and passed my WSI, we eventually moved the training to the city swimming pool, and of course it was much bigger, much nicer. And I became the lifeguard there, which also meant that I had to maintain the swimming pool. And in its basement of the swimming pool, swimming pools have basements, they had chlorine gas, and some people know that chlorine gas is incredibly dangerous, and that it, I think it's heavier than air, but chlorine in an enclosed space is really, really dangerous. Well, I had to change the tanks downstairs, and as you're doing that, you couldn't help but have a little bit of chlorine leak. And when it did, boy, the back of my throat would burn like crazy, and the eyes would burn, and wow, it was dangerous, you know, to do all that. But they also had a filtration system there that I'd never seen before, where they had some cement pools down in the basement, 3 of them as I recall, and very large pipes going to underneath these, coming up from the bottom of these cement pools. And the pools were completely filled full of sand, very fine sand. And the idea is the returning water that would splash out of the swimming pool into the troughs that would go all the way around the swimming pool, into the various drains, would drain back into this basement, and they would pump it backward, no, they would let it flow, I'm sorry, over the top of these 3 pools, and it would drop down through the sand, and that would clean the water. That plus the chlorine would clean the swimming pool water, and it'd take all the solids out. And then,
I have leftovers.
okay, so anyway, I thought that was a very interesting process. We had these great big valves that I had to turn, and it was fun. It had all this water gushing from everywhere, and I was always worried that I'd do it wrong, you know. But the idea was you'd actually reverse the flow of the water. So in other words, the water would be coming over these pools and sinking down through the sand and cleaning it during normal pool operations. But when you cleaned the sand, what you would do is you would turn off the water coming from the swimming pool, and you would reverse the flow so that the water would come up from below and push from the bottom of the sand upwards, and all of the nasty stuff that was trapped in the sand, all of it would get pushed out of the sand, and it would go over to this other little shelf and fall over that shelf, and the nasty water would go away. And the sand, it wouldn't have enough pressure to send the sand with it. The sand would just kind of sit there and bubble. And it was really cool to watch it. It would just sit there and boil and lift up off the cement walls and the cement floor. And then when I turned the water off, the sand would settle back down. I'd reverse the flow with a great big huge knobs. You know, had these pipes that were probably 8 inches or so that carried all the water, and the pool would start flowing the other way. And it was just the coolest thing ever. I was in charge. And so, anyway, but I was always worried that I'd do it wrong, and I was worried I was going to get too much of that chlorine and I'd die down there. Because really I should have had, first of all, a safety person outside, and in case I had trouble that they could get help. And second of all, a rescue mask. I should be able to have a mask on in case, you know, the chlorine got away from us. Well, they don't do it that way anymore. Anyway, and the other nice thing about the swimming pool, your lifeguard at the swimming pool, pretty girls. Did I mention the pretty girls? And you're the lifeguard? Yeah! This was pretty cool. Best job ever. So,
How much did they pay you?
you know, I didn't care. It was probably something like $2 or $3 an hour. I don't know. 4 or 5. I don't know. It was minimum wage, whatever minimum wage was back then. It was small, but it was wonderful to get.
It's been
And
$5.15 since 1975.
well, trust me, this was before then. Okay. So anyway, that was a lot of fun. And then when school ended, I went back home, and my dad had arranged for me to work at the base swimming pool, the pool that I grew up with, the pool where I had learned how to swim, spent all this wonderful time at when I was a kid. I became a lifeguard there for the summer, and that was a wonderful experience too. But they were all non-members that worked there, and a lot of them I knew because I grew up there. And the person that was in charge of it was actually my next door neighbor. That she was older than I was by 10, 15 years. I don't know. She was married with some kids, but she and her family had grown up next door to us, and so I knew her. And so anyway, that was a wonderful job, but that job ended at the end of July because they ran swimming lessons from June through July. And then August, there wasn't any swimming lessons. And so there was no need for me as a lifeguard. And meanwhile, I turned in my papers to go on a mission. And I thought, wow, what am I going to do that I don't end up spending money that I've been saving for my mission? Because I wanted to pay for a big share of my mission.